Chairman Wheeler obviously is busy and needs to get home, but we have another special guest this evening who I hope is ready to come up. Please join me in welcoming European Data Protection Supervisor, my dear friend Giovanni Buttarelli. Giovanni and I go way back, but he is one of the leading thinkers and now doers on privacy on the international stage, and he's going to preview a little bit of his agenda for 2015 and beyond. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, my dear.
My God, what a challenge. May I say, it's a great honor for me to be at the CD dinner just to break the ice. Or you may prefer to call it Tech Prom. I did not make use of automatic translators via Bing or Google, but I tried to understand what it means by a European viewpoint, Tech Prom. It was particularly difficult to translate it into my native language. The result was horrible. Ballo tecnologico. Could you imagine captains of European industry being very tempted by a ballo tecnologico? So Tech Prom is a unique event in the world, and I'm really a big fan of the work of CDT. Trying to become serious, I really appreciate your efforts to leverage your understanding and passion for technology to help strengthen individual freedoms. And I'm also aware of your commitment to balance and transparency in how your activities are supported. Believe me, you are a crucial driver for positive change, and not only in the US. But where we are now, federal lawmakers are beginning to respond. For instance, with the vigorous debate around the Consumer Privacy Bill. And this is the fruit of your labor. It is, of course, also the fruit of deepening dialogue between policy makers in the EU and those here in the US. I know this is a bill in a draft form for discussion purposes. I'm run out of energies in dealing with my homework in Brussels with the EU data protection reform, so I'm sure you will forgive me if I refrain from commenting on substance. But let me say, I recognize, and not only for diplomatic reasons, and let me say, I recognize that you have now a new starting point for discussions, for conversation, for intense scrutiny, and also the prospect of a solution which can fully satisfy public expectations. This morning, Wall Street Journal quoted a sentence from myself about President Obama. I would like to slightly rectify. President Obama recently stated that privacy is a priority in this country. I fully support this statement. More recently, he also urged other countries not to use their legislative or enforcement powers to distort free exchange with US markets. Again, I would like to endorse this sentiment as well. But how my small and independent institution may be of an help? I'm not the guardian of the European Treaty, the de facto European Constitution. My independent institution, the European Data Protection Supervisor, has had the privilege of being at the heart of the transatlantic dialogue. We have been in business for about 10 years, which in the work of an EU administration makes us a startup. Dynamic such as Facebook, or, WhatsApp, but thankfully of a little interest to corporate buyout. Last week I presented the EDPS strategy for my 5 years mandate. It is a plan for tackling the global challenge which the EU is facing, but of course in partnership with people and organizations across the globe who share our concerns and values. So it's not coincidence. The day after we published our strategy, I was on a plane bound for this beautiful capital city, my third city in my life, after Rome and Brussels. But not in terms of privilege, in terms of, entity and quantity of time spent. I think we must continue our efforts in developing global privacy rules. EU and US share many values. While we are divided by an ocean of water, the differences in how we approach technological innovation are decreasing. Opinion surveys on both sides of the ocean give the lie the stereotypes people demand that the EU only regulates while the US must just let the market rule. Yes, there is excitement at the transformative power of technology, but it also needs to rebuild trust and confidence in how governments and companies make good use of the private information we entrust to them as individuals, members of online communities, of friends and families. Business and citizens want a consistent and future-oriented rule book. I was delighted last year at this event to hear Nuala quoting the philosopher Plato and saying necessity is the mother of invention. Necessity is a core concept where when Europeans talk about privacy and protection of personal information. Because if you are going to intrude into someone's private affairs, you should need either their genuine agreement or very good reason. The internet is meant to be the great equalizer, but we must find also a way to explore the concentration of informational power in the hands of few. And I think that net neutrality, as the FCC has just decided, is one of these ways. A sound data protection and privacy policy is surely another one. Silicon Valley has been the undisputed leader in digital innovation and entrepreneurship, thanks to the way it has attracted talent from around the world. We need to support and promote this sort of innovation. We need to shape big data analytics, the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, so that they work better for us, for human beings, not the other way around. But I'm not here to preach about the virtues of another country's legal tradition based on reaffirming well-known fundamental rights and freedoms. Europe is not paradise. On the contrary, I'm here to say that I want to open a new deal on data protection and privacy, where the principles and rights are made more effective in practice without wasteful bureaucracy. A new chapter where we focus only on dynamic safeguards, robust enough to fit into the big data world. A world where we make these principles simple, user-friendly, and more readable. So easier privacy, but not pseudo-privacy. This is why last year my institution has launched a platform for dialogue and cooperation between privacy experts, academia, technology developers, civil society to embed privacy in engineering. And I would like to build on this successful partnership. So around the world of communications and IT, the tectonic plates are shifting. People demand more control over their information and what happens to it. We are lucky. 2015 is going to be a big year. Europe, OECD, Council of Europe are modernizing their rules. Brazil and Japan, too, are approaching a new framework. And it's a discussion very interesting. We are not just consumers of goods and services. My view is that the dignity of future generations will need protecting. And I would like to pay, during my mandate, more attention to ethics, to identify, of course, pragmatic and workable solutions, but solutions which are also morally tenable, not only technically feasible. We are citizens to whom governments are meant to be more accountable. A few days after the Charlie Hebdo attack in Paris, millions took the street to reaffirm our values. And our common response must be to protect freedoms, not chip away at them. Technology should enable democratic governments to be smarter in preventing and prosecuting crimes by targeting effectively those individuals from whom there is an objective reason to respect, not by excessively collecting information on what everyone is doing, saying, and thinking. I said Europe is not paradise. We face now in Europe with big questions about the necessity and proportionality of, for instance, passenger name records, mandatory retention of communication data, and smart borders. I really hope we will learn from previous experiences to focus on measures which are effective and less questionable from a fundamental right viewpoint. You, ladies and gentlemen, in this room have not only the technical expertise, but also the political influence to change society for the good. As said, I'm not the guardian of the European Treaty, but as an emissary from the European privacy community of independent regulators this evening, I feel like we are building a global partnership on questions which will affect our children and our grandchildren. So, Nuala and all others, thank you very much for the opportunity you are giving me today in what is an historic moment, a moment where we have a tremendous opportunity, an opportunity to bring our values, privacy, data protection, and also security into the digital age. Thank you for your attention.